More than 16 million Americans provide unpaid care for people living with Alzheimer's or another dementia. Can the nature of the care relationship impact the course of the disease? In this month's Optimum Life Continuing Education series, we are honored to feature Brian LeBlanc, an Alzheimer's advocate and person living with dementia, and his care partner, Maureen Rulison, who will tell the story of their care partnership. We will also hear from Brookdale's resident dementia expert, Juliette Holt-Klinger, about the importance of the care relationship. Hello, and welcome to the Optimum Life Continuing Education series, Caregiving versus Care Partnering. Last year at this time, we brought you the impactful story of Mike Belleville, who is a man living with dementia, and his wife and care partner, Cheryl Belleville. Because we think it is so important to hear the voices of those who live the experience of dementia, we have committed to bring you such stories each year. Today, we are privileged to have with us Brian LeBlanc, who is living with dementia, and his care partner, Maureen Rulison. Brian and Maureen, thank you so much for taking the time to share your expertise with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
It's our pleasure.
Also joining us is Juliette Holt-Klinger, our resident dementia care expert at Brookdale. Juliette will be giving us some of the background related to care partnering versus caregiving. And Juliette, as always, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Carol. Great to be here.
I'd like to take a moment just to tell you a little bit more about each of our speakers today, and then we are going to go ahead and jump in because I know we have lots to cover.
Yep.
So Brian, I'll start with you. Brian LeBlanc is originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, and now makes his home in Largo, Florida. It was in Pensacola, Florida, where he found his niche in the professional world as a marketing and public relations executive. All that changed in October of 2014 when he was diagnosed with younger onset Alzheimer's disease, thus becoming the fourth generation in his family to receive this diagnosis. In June 2019, he was also diagnosed with vascular dementia. Being that he had made his career by using his voice, he knew he had to use it now to advocate and educate for persons living with dementia and their care partners. Brian is now an international Alzheimer's advocate, keynote speaker, session presenter and panelist, and congressional Alzheimer's ambassador for the Alzheimer's Association. Welcome again, Brian.
Thank you.
With Brian today is Maureen Rulison. Maureen is the president of Caregiver Support and Resources, LLC, and is the co-founder of We Are Dementia Strong. Throughout her 25-plus year career working with elders and persons living with disabilities, Maureen has developed the philosophy that failure to plan is a plan to fail. This never became more of a truth to Maureen when she became Brian LeBlanc's care partner. Now, Maureen has experienced the value of pre-planning both personally and professionally. And Maureen, again, welcome to you.
Thank you, Carol.
And finally, Juliette Holt-Klinger is the Senior Director of Dementia Care for Brookdale. She is a gerontologist specializing in person-centered programs for people living with dementia. As an educator and program designer for more than 35 years, she has developed and operated programs for national companies representing both skilled nursing and assisted living levels of dementia care. In her role for Brookdale, she is responsible for dementia care program development, implementation, and quality assurance for Brookdale's nearly 400 dementia care communities, and she provides strategy development and innovation for Brookdale's dementia care product line. Juliette is a longtime advocate for person-centered care and currently serves as a board member of the Pioneer Network, an organization devoted to promotion of person-centered care and Changing the Perception of Aging. Juliet is a frequent presenter on issues related to dementia care at national conferences and also a frequent presenter here on the Continuing Education series. So welcome once again, Juliet.
Oh, thanks, Carol. Thanks for having me. We're going to have a great session today. I'm really excited to be here with my friends, Brian and Maureen.
Indeed, indeed. So I think the way we're going to go about this is, Juliet, you're going to start. You're going to give us kind of some of the academics on this whole idea of care partnering versus caregiving. And then we're going to turn it over to Maureen and Brian to really apply that and tell us your story and tell us how this works day to day for the two of you.
Yeah, I always love to speak with the real experts, right? So we'll look forward to hearing from Brian and Maureen.
Absolutely. So Juliet, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks. So I'll start by going over our objectives, as we always do with our CE programs. First, we're going to review person-centered principles as they relate to the caregiving relationship. We'll talk a little bit about the caregiving relationship, and we'll examine some potential pitfalls of a caregiving relationship and really learn to view the caregiving relationship as a partnership and talk about sort of the elements of that and what that means. We'll learn from a person living with dementia and his care partner, as we've just discussed, and really they'll talk to us a little bit about the musts of care, positive, care partnering relationships, and we'll explore the unique support needs of the care partner, which is something we don't talk about enough, probably. So we're happy to have all of those objectives here today. So let's talk a little bit at first about care and support with dementia. What do we know? We know that more than 16 million Americans provide unpaid care for people with Alzheimer's or other dementias. These caregivers provided an estimated 18.6 billion hours of care, valued at nearly $244 billion last year. 83% of care provided to older adults in the community is provided by unpaid caregivers. And we know that most caregivers, 66%, live with the person with dementia in the community. So we know most of this care is occurring in a private home. So what services are being provided? I think we think about caregiving and we sort of think about, the physical assistance that's provided, and that is certainly a part of it. There's really a complex set of tasks that are being provided: household chores, cooking, cleaning, shopping and errands, doctor's appointments, and really managing finances and legal affairs, managing medications, which can be multiple, managing treatments for dementia or other medical conditions. And then, of course, that physical assistance: bathing, dressing, grooming, feeding, really helping the person through all of those physical needs, managing incontinence and using the toilet, those types of things. Preventing behavioral symptoms from occurring and dealing with behavioral symptoms as they occur: wandering, perhaps depressive moods or agitation, anxiety, late day anxiety, repetitive activities, and sleep disturbances. We know that arranging support services such as support groups and adult day service programs, maybe hiring and arranging for in-home care, nursing home, or even assisted living care, all often fall on that primary care partner. So I wanted to start today with a little bit of a conversation around personhood and dementia. As I look at this relationship, I think this is an important thing to talk about. Memory and personhood are almost always considered to be intertwined, leading to the assumption that without memory, there is no personhood. And I think we've had this old view of dementia that really involves this erosion of personhood that I'm fighting against these days, and I hope you'll join me in that. I clipped some of these unfortunate quotes from some old slides that I had, very old slides, that I had, the disease that robs you of everything that makes you human. loss of self, a shell of who she once was. We often hear folks say, Dad's not there anymore, or that's not the mom I knew. This really has led to the misconception that a loss of memory in dementia or loss of cognition necessarily results in a diminished personhood. And I don't think that's true. And I think we need to fight against that notion. This graphic, I always use this graphic when I'm discussing this particular topic because I think it gets used a lot around dementia. And you can see it's just this sort of illustration of that loss of personhood that I can think can be really damaging. So I want to talk a little bit about how that act can erode personhood in the next few slides here. We'd be remiss if we didn't discuss Tom Kitwood when we're talking about personhood and dementia. He really wrote the book on person-centered care in 1997, Dementia Reconsidered. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. I love this quote. As he wrote the book, he observed a lot of caregiving situations and people with dementia receiving care. And he came to this conclusion: if we come close to the details of how life is lived, hour by hour and minute by minute, we can see many processes that work towards the undermining of people who have dementia. So in these observations, he really observed what he began to coin malignant social psychology that occurred between the person and their caregiver. Kitwood's theory was that some of the deterioration that's seen in people with dementia was not caused by the disease itself, but by how persons were treated. Malignant social psychology exists in relationships which devalue, dehumanize, and diminish the person with dementia. And when the person is stigmatized, infantilized, objectified, or ignored, a loss of personhood ensues. So perhaps it's not actually the disease that is eroding all that makes that person human. It may be the relationship of being cared for. So I want to identify some of these top 10 elements of malignant social psychology that Kitwood talks about. The first is treachery, using forms of deception in order to distract or manipulate a person or force them into compliance. Some of these words seem like, wow, kind of heavy words, right? But I think it's really important that we keep them in mind as we are developing what we sometimes call interventions, right? Or as we are working with folks. Treachery could be hiding someone's pill in some applesauce so that they'll take it without knowing it. Or perhaps covering a door with a mural so someone will think something's there that's not there. Disempowerment, not allowing a person to use the abilities that they do have, failing to help them to complete actions that they have initiated. So we talk sometimes about doing with and not for. You have heard me say that before in previous presentations. It's very important that we don't disempower the person in our care. Infantilization, treating a person very patronizingly, as an insensitive parent might treat a very young child. And we'll talk about that in a second. Intimidation, inducing fear through the use of threats or physical power. Labeling, using a category such as dementia as the main basis for interacting with a person and for explaining their behavior. I remember Brian, who you'll hear from in a minute here, once taught me a very important thing, and that was that he really had a hard time when everyone referred to him as a dementia patient. When really he's only a dementia patient when he's at the doctor's office, right? So I think even how we talk about people who are living with dementia is an important thing. That labeling can lead to stigma. Stigmatization, treating a person as if they were a diseased object, an alien, an outcast, right? We know what stigma can do. Outpacing, providing information, presenting choices, et cetera, at a rate that's really too fast for the person to understand, putting them under pressure to do things more rapidly than they can bear. We tend to work at our pace, not the person's pace. And we've talked about that as well. Invalidation, failing to acknowledge the subjective reality of a person's experience, and especially what they're feeling. One of the things we are trying to do here as we bring you the voices of people living with the disease is truly validate that lived experience, which is so important for us to understand. Banishment, sending a person away or excluding them physically or psychologically. We've really implored all of you to think about your dementia friendliness to your services, your clinics, your hospitals. Um, it- it's important for people to not feel othered. Objectification, treating a person as if they were a lump of dead matter. Again, these are Kitwood's words. To be pushed, lifted, filled, pumped, or drained without proper reference to the fact that they are sentient beings. So some really important reminders from Kitwood. So I looked at some of the research, what kinds of relationships particularly erode personhood. A 2013 Norwegian study that examined both professional and family caregiving relationships identified relationships that either undermined or sustained personhood in people living with dementia, and they found some pretty important things. There were really two types of relationships that were found to really erode personhood. One was a reluctant helping relationship. So, relationships where family carers, which is the European term for caregiver, were hesitant to take responsibility for a relative with dementia, being primarily motivated by a sense of duty or obligation rather than love and affection. And task-centered relationships where family carers were given it really gave instrumental help rather than directly expressing their emotions and affections for the person with dementia. So the person was really a task. Those were the most detrimental to sustaining personhood, and that they found that close emotional bonds between family carers and persons with dementia and close professional relationships between caregivers and persons with dementia were the ones that really sustained personhood. Perhaps not a surprise there. I like to always bring us back to person-centered values in my presentations, and I use these values from the Pioneer Network. These really are the antidote to the loss of personhood. We know it's important for care partners to know the person, that each person can and does make a difference. Relationships, we've talked about that so many times, are the foundational building block of a transformed culture, but also of a transformed relationship and task. Risk is a normal part of life, and putting the person before the task is so important. All elders, all people are entitled to self-determination regardless of where they live. Community is the antidote of institutionalization, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Promote growth and development of all. These are values I hold very dear, and we do at Brookdale as we provide person-centered care. So let's talk about why a new term. Language matters. And we have these old terms: caregiver, caretaker, carer, which again is the term that's often used in other parts of the world. None of these words really fully encompass the trust, the love, the partnership that actually go into this type of relationship. If you've been in a caregiving relationship, you understand the depth of that relationship. The old terms imply a one-sided relationship where the caregiver is in charge and the person receiving the care is passive and maybe doesn't have so much control. Think of that term, he's under my care, right? Is that a way of life any of us would really want to live? Does that support independence and self-esteem? I want you to think about a new term, care partner. That shift to care partner really makes sense. And you're going to hear from Brian and Maureen a lot more about why that makes sense. But caregiver versus care partner really seems like a subtle change. But the difference in these words can really have a meaningful impact on the way you view your role during that unpredictable journey that you're on with somebody with dementia. But it can also change how they view their role. And care partner really evokes a relationship based on cooperation, common goals. One is not just giving and the other is not just receiving. It's really that two-way street, fostering a person-centered mutual feeling of purpose.
Thank you, Juliet.
I'm so glad that you brought up the different types that the definitions that people were calling care partners, and the caregivers and the caretakers and so forth, because that's important. Because what a care partner really is someone that does form a partnership with the person that's living with a dementia-related illness, or the person that they're caring for. Instead of caregiving, we are partners in care. Now, according to the Eden Alternative, care partnership implies a balance of care where opportunities to give as well as receive care are abundant and experienced by everyone in the care relationship.
Unfortunately, I have probably learned most of what Mr. Kitwood and Juliet listed out for us because I have started down that road of doing it wrong. And with Brian helping me, I have learned the right way to do it, or the right way for us to do it. An example of that is what we have coined the term, don't do, be. And Juliet spoke about empowerment. When my dad was a minister and he did counseling, he used to say, when you do for someone what they can do for themselves, you make them an emotional, and he said cripple. This was back in the 70s. Forgive me for the inappropriate term, but that's what he said. And so what Brian and I have realized is that for us, it's out of love that I would always want to take the stress off of him. I wouldn't want him to have to go through what appeared to me to be painful to make these decisions and do on his own. And so he has taught me to, instead of just jumping in and doing it for him, he's taught me to be there, be next to him, be. And we have developed our own communication of when it's time for me to really help him more versus just knowing I'm there to support him. The next one is that we believe there are musts in care partnering. The first one is each member of the care partner team should be well known. According again to the Eden Alternative, this is knowing each other deeply, acknowledging our strengths and what we each have to offer. We need to celebrate each other's uniqueness and individuality.
I like to tell the story about our care partnership. Maureen is a type of person that when she wakes up in the morning, she's awake. Her mind starts going at 100 miles an hour and just planning out the day, and before she even probably gets up out of bed. Me, on the other hand, I'm a very slow mover when that happens. The day just sort of unfolds as it goes along. So I came up with the term the cheetah and the sloth. Picture a cheetah, just going at 100 miles an hour, and a sloth taking about a week to get from the top of the tree to the bottom of the tree. It's complete opposites, but it works, because what she has taught me, that I need to pay a little bit more attention in planning out the day and not waiting until the last possible minute to do things. And what I have taught her is take a little time to smell the roses. You know, you don't have to go 100 miles an hour all the time, because I don't go 100 miles an hour. My brain does not allow that. It has slowed. And so there's times where she has to let off the gas pedal, or let off the cheetah pedal, and just come down to my speed. And it works. You know, we found a way that works, and we've kept to it. And I think that's
most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. We're not going to talk about those other times.
Well, it brings up the importance of forgiveness and saying I'm sorry. When I make a mistake, I need to learn to forgive myself. And when I make a mistake, I've learned that I need to say I'm sorry to Brian. And I do make mistakes, and I will continue to make mistakes.
And I do the same. You know, my reaction sometimes, if I'm in a fog or had a bad night, I'll snap at her when she starts telling me, you know, this is what we have to do today, and so forth. And, you know, and so I tell her I'm sorry. We do apologize a lot to one another.
It's our best form of communication.
Right, but it's not in a bad way. So a little bit more about the care partner is that when it comes to trust, it's the foundation for any relationship. Without it, the relationship will be shaky, and eventually it'll fail. After all, trust means that you can rely on your partner, can confide in them, and feel safe with them, because it's a two-way street.
I never, ever understood trust the way I learned it one day. I got up at my cheetah speed, and when Brian got up at his sloth speed, I said to him, today you're speaking at, and I named the care community, and we have to leave by 10 o'clock so that we can be there by 11 o'clock. And I was just like, boom, 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 boom. And so he asked me, you know, what should I wear? How should I dress? And I showed him what I thought he should wear and how he should dress. And I gave him the 1 hour reminder, and I gave him the half-hour reminder and the 15-minute reminder. And we got in the car, and he looked, you know, like Mr. GQ, all done up and everything. And he said to me as we're backing out, he goes, have I ever been here to the place we're going to before? And we had been there about 5 other times before. And one of the times, Brian had Santa Claus sit on his lap. And so it was a little surprising to me, because he tells that story often, that he didn't remember that he had been there. And I said, yep, you've been there before. And then we're driving down the road a little bit more. He goes, and why are we going there? I said, you're going to speak today. And he said, what am I going to speak about? And so I reminded him what he was going to speak about. And when he said that, and I was answering it, I said to myself, can you imagine waking up in the morning, having some bossy person tell you exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to dress, when you're going to do it, and having the trust that that person's going to do it right for you? And then get in a car that you have no control over driving and go wherever this person is taking you and do whatever this person tells you you're supposed to do. The responsibility of trust lay on me like a wet quilt that day. Not that it was so heavy and I minded it, but it's a constant reminder of the privilege and the honor that I have that someone trusts me that much. And that trust is also there in how much I trust Brian. Brian would never ask of me what he can do himself. He would never ask me to do something that was against what I believed in. And he will always be there for me to the best of his ability. The next component of care partnering that we believe is a must is compassion. Compassion is the feeling of a shared experience. When you understand the reason for someone else's actions, there is the birth of compassion.
I guess one of the best examples of that is those of us that are living with dementia-related illnesses. Not all, because we're all individualized. But I have hallucinations. Sometimes they're frequent, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they don't. My hallucinations are basically dark, shadowy figures that I can't make out who the person is or what they are. I just know that they are there and not really knowing why they're there. Mostly they're just standing there looking at me. And at first, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it scared the life out of me. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night, and they always come like about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you open your eyes and you see someone standing at the foot of your bed, and it's unnerving. So what happens is Maureen would wake up because she would hear me yelling at these things that weren't there and telling them to leave. You know, I said, get out of here. You don't belong here. I don't want you here, so forth and so on. But what she did after that was, when I started yelling at these hallucination people, she started yelling with me. Now, she had no idea who they were. The only way she knew where they were physically was where I was yelling to. So she would yell in that direction, telling them to leave him alone, leave us alone, you don't belong here, this, that, and the other. They went away and only came back very, very seldom. Everybody that's on a care partner team should have the opportunity to say thank you, because of the fact that the care partners of the world do so much for the person or persons that they're caring for. If you notice, I didn't say taking care of, that they are caring for. And that's what I try to do each and every day for Maureen, because she does so many things for me during the course of a day. Some days more, some days not as much, but I say thank you. At least, I can't count the number of times, but she deserves every time I give her a thank you, because without her, I would not be able to do a lot of the things that I do today. And so I'm forever grateful to what she does. So when she provides care, when I provide care for her, and she says thank you to me, wow, that kind of sends me soaring through the skies. And it's just a feeling that you can't really express.
And all the help that Brian gives me, sometimes, all the time, is appreciated. Sometimes it's not always necessary, though. I was reading a book the other day, and it said capitalization is the lifeblood of your business. And he said, well, then if it's a problem, why don't you just write everything in lowercase? I'm like, well, I didn't think about it. But I also want to tell you that as a professional, when I have gone out into communities, there are sometimes people who are nonverbal. And I believe that we need to work extra hard to give them opportunities to hear us say thank you. And just one example that I can think of is I was walking through an assisted living one time, and there was a lady, and I always try to make sure that my face says, "I'm happy to see you," to people. So as I'm walking towards her, she's in a wheelchair sitting there, and as I'm walking towards her, her face is lighting up, and I'm thinking it's because she's connected with me. And I noticed that she had on a purple sweater, which purple is my favorite color. So I walked up to her, and with eye contact and hesitantly, just making sure I had permission, laid my hand on her shoulder, and I said, "I just want to tell you thank you for making me smile and making me feel happy with your purple sweater today." And I just tell you, she couldn't say a word, but her eyes and her face said that I had made her day. So thank you. And hearing it and saying it are both important.
Now, when my Alzheimer's is closing in, this is how I want my care partner team to be empowered. I made a video to my future care partners so that even before I go into that community, they're going to know a lot of things about me, my likes, my dislikes, and so forth. I think that's important for them to know, because if you go in there stone cold and they don't know about you, you don't know about them, it could be a kind of a very anxious experience. So given the fact that they know a little bit about you is going to help my anxiousness, and it's also going to help them have a better understanding.
Enjoy the video.
Hi, I'm Brian LeBlanc. And if you're watching this video right now, it means that I'm in your care. I have Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia, plus type 2 diabetes. So, might need some help in getting all that stuff under control, or keep it as under control as we possibly can. I want to tell you some things about me so that maybe caring for me will be a little bit easier. The first thing is that I want opportunities to do things myself. We call that don't do, be. Meaning, don't be so quick to jump in and take over something that you feel I can't do by myself, and you jump in and do it for me. That's going to do nothing but frustrate me. Give me a chance. And if I need your assistance, I'll do my best to ask or show you some sign that I'm requesting your help. I want access to my music. Now, I've sung all my life. I play guitar. I'm not sure if I'll have my guitar with me or even if I'll know how to play the guitar. But if it's there, I might want to play it. But my music is going to be on my phone. And I have different types of playlists. Everything from country to rock to love songs to instrumentals. I have a little bit of everything. Music tends to calm me. So if I'm feeling anxious, or if you see me in some sort of despair, play some music for me. That helps me to get out of my funk or get out of my anxious moods. If you can get me outside, I love being outside. I don't want to be cramped up in my room 24/7. It's just not healthy. I need to be out, feel the sun on my face, or feel the cool breeze, watching squirrels, listening to the birds sing. I like conversation. Don't talk to me or talk at me. converse with me. Ask me how I'm doing. There might be days where I can actually answer you. And there could be days where I'm not able. You'll understand as you get to know me what kind of day I'm having. Photos. I have literally taken thousands and thousands of photos. Hopefully I will have them in an album, or if they're not on an album, they'll be I can't say the word, digitalized on my phone or whatever type of apparatus I have when I'm in your care community. Show the photos to me and let me look at them, because I may not be able to recall where I was or what I was doing, but I'll remember the feeling that it gave me. And that's what's important, is the feeling. I don't want people hovering over me. I want to be left alone sometimes. That's important. If I have people hovering over me, that's going to make me feel like something's wrong, which is going to raise my anxiousness level, and that's never good. I want opportunities to visit family members, friends. I'm not really sure if I'll have family members left, from my immediate family, because my sister and my brothers are all older than me. So I'm not really sure who from that part of my family will be available. Maureen will have access 24/7 to me. And I ask you very nicely, let her have access to me 24/7. I need her because I love her. She was my care partner, and she was also my life partner, and she still is. So one thing about Maureen is, don't upset her. You won't like that side of her. She cares fiercely for me, and I care and love fiercely for her. Our love goes deeper than you could even imagine. So I'm just giving you fair warning. I want opportunities to sing. I want opportunities to still take photos. When I'm sitting outside and I see something that I want to take a picture of, I'm going to take a picture of it. So please, if you see me trying to get up, it's probably for that reason. Please help me. Help me to stand. Help me to get up out of the chair or wherever I'm sitting. I want to take a picture of something. Now, if you want to make me happy, keep me stocked with peanut butter, ice cream, and coffee. I know I have diabetes, but look, I want to go out happy, so it's okay. Because if you don't get it for me, Maureen will bring it in for me. I don't want, okay, let's put it this way. I love hugs. I think they're wonderful. But I don't want strangers coming up to hug me. That's going to freak me out a little bit. I don't know these people. If I'm introduced, get to know them a little bit, form a relationship, that's fine. I hope to form a relationship with you. So if you want to form that relationship and then come give me a hug, that's perfectly fine. But having total strangers coming in my room, hugging me as if they knew me for years, sorry, they don't. And that's going to sort of freak me out a little bit. As long as I'm cognizant, continue to allow me to educate and advocate. You see, right now, I am an international Alzheimer's advocate, and I go around the country and in Canada talking to people that want to learn, what is it like to live with Alzheimer's? How do you get through a day? How do you cope? If I could be of any service to the care community that I'm living in, please let me. Please let me do what I've done for so many years, because that will help keep me alive inside. TV shows. I love football. Now I realize that I'm in Florida right now, and my favorite team is where I'm originally from, and that's the New Orleans Saints. I'm not sure what football is going to look like by the time I'm in the care community, but I like to watch football. I also like Disney. Ask anybody that knows me about how many times I've been to Disney. It's a lot. I'm a kid at heart when it comes to that. So, with that said, I like Disney movies. If you could play those for me, that would be awesome. Any comedy show. Now, I know I have some shows listed here like Will and Grace, Friends, Last Man Standing, Cheers. You may have to Google those to find out what those are. But, you know, it's okay. If there's something current that's funny, or if there's a movie that's funny, I love to laugh. It does make me happy. Laughter is the best medicine. So, that's about it. The last thing I would like to say, again, is when it comes to Maureen, she is my heart and my soul. She is my strength. She is my care partner and my life partner. We found each other when we were both at the age of almost 60. And we're not letting each other go. I want her by my side as much as possible. Please accommodate her. As I said before, 24/7 access to me. I need her in my life just as much as she still needs me in hers. So thank you for watching this. If you have any questions, just ask Maureen. She'll tell you exactly what needs to be done. She'll fill in the blanks. Thanks for watching this. I hope it helps. And I hope we have a wonderful, wonderful relationship, you know, for as long as it lasts. Thank you.
Now, make sure that my professional care partner team has a supportive working environment. Make sure that management's direction to take time is to get to know me. Not only just my care partner team, but I want the management to know who I am also. And also that they have the tools to provide me with what I stated in my video as my needs and my wants. Make sure that my family care partner team has plenty of support, the tools they need to take care of themselves and me, and plenty of opportunities for life outside of providing support for me.
I have to tell you that COVID has taught Brian and I something very important, and that is you get, no matter how much you love and appreciate somebody, you get tired of talking to that same person, seeing that same person's face day in and day out.
24/7, folks.
So it's not just the care partner who's providing support that needs a different face and a different voice. It's also the person who's receiving support that needs that. So I just want to recap that we believe that quality care partnering requires a two-way, person-centered, as Juliet said, approach. And that approach needs to have the ability to create opportunities for each member of the team to feel well known, supported, and that there's opportunities to build trust. And when trust is securely in place, the rest of the components of the partnership work.
Now, I have a care partner team. The reason why is, Maureen and I had a conversation. And the conversation started out with, and Maureen brought this up. She says, I'm really worried about what's going to happen if I go first, if something happens to her. She says, what are we going to do? And at the time, there was a TV show called A Council of Dads. It was a guy who had cancer, and he was dying of cancer. But before he died, he put together a council of three, and there were three of his best friends, and their roles were to be there for his wife and for his children with anything that they need. If they need assistance, they would call on one of them depending upon what that need was. So I put together a care partner team. These are three individuals. They're all professionals. And I called each one of them, explained the situation. Not one of them batted an eye. We've been knowing each other for a number of years now. And they were they were overwhelmed that I would think of them to take care of me. And, they all said, you wouldn't even have to ask. We will be there for you. For me, as well as for Maureen, that's so comforting to both of us that I have someone, or if, even if Maureen just needs a little help, if she needs to get away for a little bit, have someone else come over and maybe just sit with me. And it's comforting. You really find out who are the people that are most important in your life when it comes up, when something like this comes up. And it's a shame that sometimes it takes something bad to bring out the good in people. So there it is.
But whether somebody is a professional care partner
Right.
or a family care partner, they need support.
Yep.
This is an emotional job. It's a job I love more than any other job I've ever had, but it's an emotional job. And I appreciate the opportunity to learn the way this is taught me. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian and Maureen, so very much. It's such a pleasure to hear your story. And I noted that you said you met, when you met, Brian already had dementia, which is really cool. I think that just speaks volumes about who you are as people and your understanding of who people with dementia are, and to Juliet's point and to your point, both of personhood. And a person who is living with dementia is a person, and all that comes with being a person is available to them, or should be available to them in this journey. So we thank you so much for your inspiring story and sharing it, for the work that you do, because I know you go and speak all over to teach people and really help everyone understand more about the condition of dementia and what it means to be partners in caring for one another in this journey. And Juliet, as always, thank you so much for all you do, and for, I know, the relationship you have with Brian and Maureen, and have known them a long time, and for bringing them to us. I look forward to hearing all of the feedback that folks will have as they see this presentation. And do want to say that those of you who have, if you have questions for Brian and Maureen or for Juliet, send them to us. We would love to hear from you. I know they would love to hear from you. you can send those to us at ce@brookdale.com. That's ce@brookdale.com. And we will get those questions to the right person and get a response back to you. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. And we'll say bye for now.
Thanks.
Thank y'all for having us.